normally week 2 is all about avoiding being 0-2. And I will read off the statistics for teams making the playoffs at 0-2 and 1-1. And it is just a major big difference. No two ways about it. Since 1990. This is how far back we're going. We're going back to 1990, way before the triplets started winning Super Bowls. So that's how long ago it was for Dallas. And I'm looking at the numbers, and of the 442 teams that started 1-1 in that time period, 184 of them made the playoffs. That's a hit rate of 41.6%. That's your chances of the previous 30 years of 31 seasons of football. You start 1-1, you got a 41% chance, 42 if you want to round up, of making the playoffs. Of the 258 teams that started 0-2, only 30 of them made the playoffs. That's it. 3-0. We do the math for you here. 11.6%. Very simple. 30% difference. Almost a third of a chance better of making the playoffs by winning week 2 after losing week 1 than by starting with a 2-game losing streak. The last 0-2 teams to make the playoffs in the NFL goes back to 2018. The Texans and the Seahawks did it in the same year. That's it. Didn't happen last year, didn't happen the year before. Now then, as we all know, certainly because we say it on NFL Network every 3 minutes, this is the largest season ever. It's the biggest season ever. There's a 17th regular season game. So I don't know how skewed these numbers will be because there's one extra chance of you to dig out of that hole. They're giving you one extra shot. Don't know if it's going to be any difference. But the bottom line is, if you're 0-1, it'd be a good idea to win this weekend. And I have come up with, instead of just focusing on one particular team, I have come up with 4 teams that can least afford to lose this weekend and go to 0-2 in the 2021 season. Mike Del Tufo, hit it, please. This is how we're going to start. And we start with the Green Bay Packers. I know it's RELAX, and I know that I said that this is a team that can absolutely be just fine and dandy. But if they lose in front of the entire country to the Detroit Lions on Monday night, that would be 2 clunkers in a row to start this season. And I know I'm kind of slagging on the Lions a little bit when I say it would be a clunker, as opposed to the Lions matching snap for snap the intensity of a team that made the NFC Championship game last year in the first home game. The first home game of Aaron Rodgers back as a Green Bay Packer, even though he never left. And last week, you could kind of throw out as an outlier, had to have been weird for Green Bay to show up in Jacksonville as opposed to the Superdome and see the Saints logo out there. And still, though, it looked like they thought they could just roll the footballs out. Aaron's back, 12's back. We're just going to roll the New Orleans Saints, and they got hit in the mouth. If after all that, if they don't flush it and respond, exclamation points, and lose to the Lions and go to 0-2, sure, their division is still weak, but they would be behind the Lions in that division, and all of us would be wondering what the heck is going on, and then week 2 to week 3 would be filled with a lot of question marks, which I'm sure Green Bay's used to. Week 3 is at San Francisco. Week 4 is home against the Steelers. Next couple of steps are a Lulu. It would behoove them to even their ledger at 1-1 on Monday night. Number 2 is I'll go and stay in this division here and essentially say Green Bay's not going to falter. And if Minnesota falls to 0-2, that's a big-time problem for the Minnesota Vikings. Because they have just lost to the Bengals, and they lose to the Cardinals at home in Arizona, which I'm expecting them to kind of do. That if Cousins doesn't come up with one of those Cousins positive games, those plus games for Kirk, where he finds his receivers, and normally he'll do it against an NFC West team too, and you least expect it on the road. I once watched him do it against the Los Angeles Rams, as a matter of fact, and he lit him up. And let's just play it out. And if the Vikings go to 0-2 and they're looking up at the Packers, their next two are at home against Seattle and the Browns. Oh, boy. I know their first two were on the road. Everybody looked at their schedule. They thought, all right, at least they'll get the one win in Cincinnati. They'll come home 1-1 maybe if they lose to Arizona. That's a big one. Next one this is an obvious one, and you could sit here and say, well, what are they going to do anyway? Well, they got a new coach, and they made a big, huge decision at 4th overall in this year's draft and did not choose the successor to Matt Ryan. Instead, gave him a nice new weapon in Kyle Pitts. And then Atlanta laid an egg at home against the Eagles. Atlanta cannot fall to 0-2. They just can't fall to 0-2 because the rest of the division's already won a game. They're already one game behind everybody else. And man, oh man, who do they visit this week but Tampa? Look out below. Next ones are at the Giants, home for the Washington football team, and then hosting the Jets in London in week 5. Winnable games, sure, but not when you're a team that starts 0-2. There's no such thing as games that you should be expected to win. What a tough assignment for Arthur Smith to have to pull it all back together and go on the road, but it is a division game, and you can usually throw the records out. Fourth one for you. Cleveland Browns. Could you imagine they lose at home to the Texans?
I can't.
Hold on, because you're the one who's
really imagine
and well,
that,
the reason why I'm kind of bringing this up right now is what you said at on Monday's show. When I'm talking about how the Browns and the Chiefs were, hitting each other with haymakers, and you're like, but they're the Browns. They lost the game.
Yeah, they did what the Browns always do.
Well, that's the sensation. If the Browns do what they did in Kansas City and then come home and lose to the Texans,
right.
And Tyrod Taylor, who was Hugh Jackson's choice to start instead of Mayfield in Mayfield's rookie season.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
And the guy who got concussed against the Jets on the Thursday night because Hugh was still sticking with his veteran, then Baker comes in, with his cell phone and his hat backwards, and everybody starts slagging on him, but he's Baker friggin' Mayfield, and he needs to win this game at home. Their next games are versus Chicago at home, at Minnesota, at the Chargers. They got to even the ledger with a team that's coming in, and I know what they did at home against Jacksonville, but they got to bring them back down to earth. So those are my 4 teams: Packers, Vikings, Falcons, and Browns. Unless you think we need one more? Do we need one more? Do we need one more, Mike? Do we need one more? Oh, he didn't have it right. We talked about it. Oh, he's so upset right now.
I am upset because it's like I didn't know you were using it now. I mean, come on, you gotta give me a little heads up.
Did I not say
one more?
Okay, very good.
All right, we'll get one more.
Okay, very good.
Mike, we only did an entire segment that led to that moment.
It's like you can't really put that one on me, people.
I mean,
it's like,
well, you weren't.
End the music.
We did rehearse that one pre-show.
You weren't
Let's
listening.
act like we're not on Peacock and all these radio stations that he personally checks us into every single day, having a very nice conversation with the guy at Westwood One, unless it's that other guy who doesn't want to talk to us.
There's a new guy. He's all business.
Is that right? Is the new guy who's all business?
He's a new guy, all business. No conversation about the family.
Let me just tell the new guy who's all business who's sitting there. I'm assuming right now because he's not checking any other shows at Westwood One. A new guy that's all business. Mike is he's sensitive. Mike's a personal man.
He wants to talk.
He wants to talk. Just like a little chit chat.
Yeah, how you doing?
It's how you doing. You're like, hey, this is Mike Del Tufo from the Rich Eisen Show. You're supposed to say, hey,
Mikey, what's up, man?
Hey, DJ Mikey D.
All right, so let's act like none of this happened.
Okay, great.
We need one more. All right, we'll get one more.
All right, I got one more.
We got one more.
We'll just edit that together, Rich.
You can edit it together now.
Mikey,
don't edit it together.
Mikey, hit it one more time and we'll cut all that out.
No, here you go. Do you think we need one more, Chris?
Yeah, I think we need
one more.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get one more.
Literally spent 20 minutes looking for the bite, editing
now
it.
Give me the NFL Films music back. No, give me that. Here we go. Yes.
Hey, Bell.
Okay. Tomorrow night, Thursday Night Football. Loser of that team goes 0-2. Washington football team with their backup quarterback until Ryan Fitzpatrick and his hip can get back, and then who the heck knows? If you're pushing 40 and coming back from a hip injury like that, I mean, I'm 52. You guys see me walking in, you're like,
You all right?
All right. I'm like, I'm Fred G. Sanford. Okay.
Bum, 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 bum.
All right.
Okay.
But I'm fine. I'm fine. It's just like, I just sat the wrong way in the car for the last 2 minutes,
2 minutes.
So you got Taylor, and of course, there's the Giants. Could you imagine they start 0-2?
Yeah,
Could you imagine the Giants start 0-2? I know you can. So because of that, and I think it's obvious for Thursday Night Football that you don't want to lose Thursday Night Football to go to 0-2. No. You know who could at least afford going 0-2? Dallas Cowboys.
Hey!
Oh, wait. Where'd that come from?
Dallas Cowboys.
That was your damn act together.
Yes.
Hey, that wasn't mentioned pre-show.
In honor of Ken Burns in his Muhammad Ali documentary, I just went, coming on later, I just went rope-a-dope on you.
You really did.
Dallas Cowboys cannot start 0-2.
I mean, that is
They
true.
could come out here to the house that Jerry helped build.
Yes.
Jerry helped, pave the way in the owners' meetings to help this place build. I think he even made the deal with SoFi to name the stadium. He's coming out here. He's going to walk around and think he's got more ownership of the building than Dean Spanos.
He
I
might.
don't have the patience to jack with you today.
Yeah, that's why he's going to stroll into the building, sitting on the way that Thursday night game ended with the quarterback he gave all that pieces of the pie to, and they start winning. Game starting now, and it's in his basic home away from home, SoFi Stadium. Instead, the Chargers are going to hand them a second straight loss. And I know you could sit here and say the division is down and weak, but Philadelphia's got a game at home. If they win against San Francisco, tough assignment, but San Francisco's coming all the way across the country. Monday Night Football sitting at 0-2 in your own house with Philadelphia coming in. Oh boy, you could sit. Oh, that first take that day with Irv and Stephen A.
Oh.
Like this all builds up, and that Metroplex builds up. Dallas after that, home for Carolina. It's one of those games where, sure, they'll just steamroll Carolina. Carolina starts hitting them in the mouth. Oh. Then the Giants, anything can happen. Anything can happen in that game.
True that.
Remember what happened in last year's game we don't want to see again.
We talking playoffs or what?
Dallas, you better win up the road this weekend, sir.
You are. That's a fact.
By the way, that was 2 more. So that's why I didn't drop.
It wasn't 2 more. It wasn't 2 more. It was one showing one, but then coming back and then giving you the other.
Bam.
Yeah, you threw me off on that
Boom.
one.
Okie doke.
I thought we were going to talk to
One more.
Pats.
All right, we'll get one more.
All right, now he's laying on it. We did say before, like, I'll give you 4, but I've got another one right here.
No,
We'll hit
you
the
didn't
drop.
plan that. No. I mean, that was poor producing. I'm actually going to say.
Mike, you weren't listening.
But
You
I
weren't
mean,
listening.
You guys know content-related stuff. Sometimes my mind's
We
not
need to tell
fully-
you 2, 3, 4 different times because you're too busy
No, I have
being
a rundown.
pissed.
I need a rundown.
You're too busy being offended by the guy
I
not
wasn't
talking to
offended.
you when you check in.
I wasn't offended.
You get
what I'm
thrown
saying
off
is
by stuff like
I
that.
want that.
He
I
does.
want,
Yeah.
He
I
does.
do.
Mike likes the
I'm
conversation.
offended
and
for you.
He gets like if he doesn't get it back, he's a little like.
Although I
was
just
it
will
me?
say this.
Did I say something
I know
wrong?
this is not technically top of the show material. It's usually later in the hour material, but screw it. We're on the subject matter. It is fun watching you check in because if the guy doesn't really give you the back and forth,
you're just
you could
like-
see like
He's
Yeah.
deflated a little bit.
You're like,
I know.
it's a
Rejected.
letdown.
okay, check-in guy, just ask Mike how he's doing back and act like you mean it.
And like maybe ask him about the boat. Just say, hey, how's the
it's
boat
like,
running? How's the boat
Well, the
running?
check-in guy also knows he only has X amount of time to get this done. If he starts to talk about Mike
I
about
know.
the boat,
We have no idea. You have no
then,
idea what checklist
you know.
he's going through, and you're just checking. He's just checking a box with you, and you're not somebody to check the box with.
That's exactly.
You're not a box checker.
You now know why I'm
You're
upset.
a check-in guy. You
Yes.
check in.
I check in.
It's more when you're checking in. It's more than just connecting.
Yes.
A radio show to a radio central command. It's connecting as people.
I mean, it's like I don't like swipe right, swipe left. I want to swipe right and talk.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.